Welcome to Phil Wilson Chats with Celebrities. And here is your host, Phil Wilson.
National treasure and recently celebrated by the official chart company as the first ever artist to have had chart success over 8 decades, the original pop icon and heartthrob Marty Wilde announces the release of his new single 2i streaming on the 19th of April as he celebrates his 85th birthday in that very same week. And Marty is going to be releasing the single from his new EP of the same name, 2i streaming. The EP is released simultaneously on the same day. And it sounds like I'm saying that twice, actually, which I think I did. And Marty Wilde joins me now. How are you doing, Marty?
Yeah, I'm great, Phil. Thank you. Very well. Very well.
Fabulous. It's great to catch up with you because after hearing your single, I was thinking we need to get Marty on the show because it's absolutely fantastic and it really brings back memories of all of the great days there of Marty Wilde there when you were starting out your career there, which we'll be talking about.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the single. Yeah, I am. I'm very happy with it, and people generally, it's had a great reaction. So, and I know it's in the Heritage charts, so which is great.
Which is really good.
It's not bad.
Not bad at all there. Yes, we'll be obviously listening in to Mike Reid there when he's doing the chart and seeing how high you get there in the charts as well. Now, for those listeners who are just discovering your music, when did it all begin for you actually with singing?
Way back in 1957, I signed a contract with Larry Parnes, who was Tommy Steele's manager. And that's how it started. Larry was the biggest, most powerful. He was like the Simon Cowell of his day.
Yes.
And he signed me, and Tommy was also signed to him. Later on, of course, he signed Billy Fury, Georgie Fame, and lots of other people. So I was the second artist that he signed.
Indeed. And, when you were growing up, were you always an entertainer? Were you always somebody that wanted to, sing and perform?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think most kids do. I mean, a lot of kids, always get that. You can see it in children when they're at parties. You can see the ones who are going to want to be standing out. It's a kind of thing of standing out, really, being shown, being seen, and showing off almost. And I used to. I was saying to someone the other day, my father, during the war, he got me to sing a song for the soldiers.
Right.
And all the soldiers cheered, and I remember feeling pretty good about that. Although I was about 6 at the time, or 5. So it started that young, and my love of music began, as a small child, and has carried on right through. Music is one of the most important things in my life.
It's the same as me. It's like me dad said that I might as well have been born with a microphone in my hand and a turntable because I grew up, you see, with all of the 45s, with the Beatles and everything else and music from yourself. That was the kind of thing that was bought from like the second-hand shop at the top of my grandma's street, and it was like amazing. So, pure rock and roll. Absolutely love it.
Oh, yeah. They were great days. They were great days.
Great days. Now, did you have any other job before going into the music business?
Yeah, briefly, I was a messenger boy, which I loathed the job, which was delivering papers and with information on about the shipping in London. Different offices I had to go to and give these accounts, the shipping, what the ships were doing, what they were loading, how much they had on board, and things like that. And I didn't enjoy that period of time. I had to, because I lived in London, but I had to take a train to get to London, and I worked near in Rood Lane in Eastcheap, where the Great Fire of London started up around that area. And it was a train journey. It was about a 40-minute train journey every day and 40 minutes back. And by the time I got home of a night time, I would be very tired. And so I didn't really enjoy the job, and I was damn glad to get out. But it was, it was just one of those things, and I was lucky. Otherwise, I might have been there to this day, I suppose.
Indeed, and you did actually mention there that you were performing under the name of Reg Patterson at London's Condor Club in 1957 when you were spotted by impresario Larry Parnes. What was it like being discovered by a manager who, as you mentioned, had recently discovered Tommy Hicks, who became Tommy Steele?
Yeah, it was magical. It was a bit like Simon Cowell. He came down to my home. It'd be like Simon Cowell knocking at your door saying, yes. I want to, and he had a contract as well. I want to sign you up. I mean, you just, anyone who Simon Cowell signed at one point, would know that they were going to stand a good chance of becoming a star. So when Larry signed, came to ask me to be one of his artists, it was I thought, oh wow, now it's. But in actual fact, it was a kind of a progression. It was taking its time, but just gradually, I was. You start off by being in an amateur band, and then you stay in the amateur band, but you're getting known. That was me, and I was in this little group, and we were going around. We were really getting noticed, and I suppose in the back of my head, it was in. Maybe I thought I was gonna, at some point, I would get. I don't know what was going on in my head. I know that I gave my office at the Rood Lane 2 weeks' notice to Mr. Butcher. I said, I'm leaving. He said, what do you want? What are you going to be, Smith? I said, be a rock and roll singer. He said, you're going to be a rock and roll singer. Oh my God. And he said, and I said, he said, so where are you going to work? I said, I've got 2 weeks' work. He said, 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. I said, well, that's what I want to do. It's what I want to be. I want to be a rock and roll singer. And later on, of course, he was a charming man. And later on, I went back to the offices now, and I'd hit, hitting the charts, and
yes,
everyone was very sweet. But at the time, you can understand it really. Everyone wants to be a star. So
that's right.
The chances of it were pretty rare. But I was fortunate. I was very very ambitious at that point in my life, very ambitious. So I wanted to get on with things. I wanted to do it, and I loved rock and roll so much. I just wanted to be a rock and roll singer.
Absolutely amazing as well, you've done. And your debut single on the UK chart was Endless Sleep in 1958. What was it like having your first hit?
It was great. It was terrific. I was way up north. I think I was in Sheffield, somewhere like that. In actual fact, and I said to one of the guys, one of my band, we were staying in digs, all of us, and because that was the way it was in those days. Because I didn't have a hit at that point when Larry sent us out, so yes. They put us in these little digs. And I said to the band, do me a favour, would you get the record mirror for me? I said, I think my record's beginning to sell. And he said, okay. So I opened it up on the kitchen table down in the digs, and there it was. It just come into the top 40, and I just had a feeling then. I just knew things were going to change. It was a dream come true. And my opening show, my very first big tour, was at Sunderland, was Sunderland Empire.
Oh, right. Yes. Wow.
Yeah, Sunderland Empire. And I bet
the atmosphere was great.
Wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. And I had a Geordie road manager as well. George, I think. And he was called George. I think he was. He was a Geordie. It was the first time I'd ever really heard the Geordie accent. And it was probably one of the first times you'd heard a Londoner. But there we were. We got on great. And Sunderlanders have a great affection for the area. People have always been really great to me. So obviously Sunderland holds a very special place. I've got the bill in my office. It's a big as well. It looks great.
Absolutely amazing. Who was on the bill with you?
Tommy Hicks, who was Tommy Steele's brother. And well, there was another thing. There was there was two young guys on there called the Most Brothers. Well, the Most Brothers was eventually was Mickie Most, who
Wow.
he went to. I carried on with my career. He left and went to South Africa, where he had hits on his own in South Africa, but that was like a very limited market really for him. But then he came to England, started up Rack Records with the money he'd made, and that was it. And Kim was signed to Rack.
That's right, yes.
Yeah,
With Kids in America and such.
Yeah, I met Mickie when he was just starting and was, just like me, was trying hard to do as best he could. And he ended up being Kim's, big record boss. But so it was a great memories.
Excellent memories of Rack Records as well there. Now, being a teen idol, what was it like having such a fan base so soon in your career?
I don't know, really. I mean, a lot of people ask me, what did you think at this time? I can't honestly. I never dwelt on things, really. I didn't take the fan worship all that seriously. I didn't think I was God's gift to mankind. Right. I never thought that. I had all sorts of inferiorities, like all young men, or some young men have. But I didn't. I wasn't conceited. I wasn't. I just couldn't. Well, I was, because I was so unsure about myself, and I didn't think I was God's gift to. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see, like, it wouldn't be like if I was Elvis. You look at which was such a good-looking guy, or Redford, Redford the actor, or some people have just got. Or David Essex was a good-looking man, but I never looked at myself that way. So it kind of kept me steady, really. So it's not get too don't get carried away with yourself, No.
Well, there was Jim Dale as well, wasn't there? He had his bit of action. He was on the 50. Was it the 56 special? Yeah.
The 6-5 special.
6-5 special.
Dale. Yeah. Then he went on to be a fine actor and making loads of films. Yeah. Nice man. Jim. Yeah, he was very talented. He was.
Yes, like yourself. Marvelous. Now, you followed the top 10 success with Donna and your most successful hit to date with Teenager in Love, getting to number 2 in 1959, which is still a firm favourite today. Did you know that you had a hit on your hands when recording Teenager in Love in the studio?
I wasn't sure. I didn't think. Yeah, I suppose because at that time I was a fairly big star. I didn't think too much about it. I just used to record, and that was it. Yeah. So I recorded it, and I mean, it's a strange song because it's like so many. It's not a complicated song at all, and it's such a simple lyric, really, but it works. It works every time, and sometimes I write a lot of songs, and sometimes you write really sort of like lyrics which you think are really rich are simple, but they're not. Yes. They register with people. And Teenager in Love, for whatever reason, it always makes people smile. I don't know why. Maybe because they were all teenagers in love. But it was a great record. Doc Pomus and Mort Schumann, who wrote that, I managed to meet them in America to thank them for that, because they wrote "Sweets for My Sweet," "Under the Broadwalk," "Can't Get Used to Losing You," "Viva Las Vegas," "Little Sister." It goes on and on and on. And
amazing.
They wrote "Teenager in Love," yeah.
Absolutely amazing the song is. And are you surprised that it's still as popular as it is today as it was then? Because it's like it's timeless, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I am surprised. I'm greatly surprised. It's a bit like Kids in America with Kim.
Yes.
Kim gets the same reaction, but with Kids in America as I get with Wherever She Goes, and I get it with Teenager in Love. I mean, Joe Brown, my buddy, he laughs because he said I shouldn't be. He said I should alter the lyrics to "Why Can't I Be a Teenager in Love?"
Oh, excellent! Yes, the good old Joe Brown there, and he had his brothers there, didn't he? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely excellent. Now, you continue to have top 10 hits such as "Sea of Love," "Bad Boy," and "Rubber Ball" over the following years. Did you decide to concentrate on writing for others after that time?
No, not at that time. In fact, that was one area I regret in a way, but I wasn't organized enough. I was so busy doing other things and getting my head into other things. I took my eye off the ball in a way. I should have really carried on a lot more with writing. But nevertheless, it caught up with me throughout the 60s. I didn't do much writing. I did a little bit, but not reams of it. And then, of course, later on, 68, I started to write again. And 69, and I started to get hits again with other people. And yes. So then that was a great time. And then I had another rest period after that, in the 70s, 71. And then and then in the early 80s, I started to write for Kim. So there was kind of little gaps. But there again, I had to sort of try and balance the two. I wanted to do my own things, get out on the road, but also I wanted to write. So it was hard to balance, but I was fortunate, I was lucky to be able to write, to be part of those songs. I was lucky.
And you collaborated with songwriter Ronnie Scott, and you wrote the one-hit wonder for the Casuals, Jezamine, which is very, very well known under the pseudonyms of Frere Manston and Jack Geller, and also wrote I'm a Tiger and the early Status Quo hit Ice in the Sun, I Melt Away. Which are absolutely fantastic tunes, by the way. Now, do you enjoy writing for other people?
Yeah, I did. I particularly enjoyed Jezamine. Jezamine was the song because originally I started the song off. I started to write at home, and I had not all of the melody, but most of it. But I hadn't finished. There was one part that I hadn't finished, and I said to Ronnie Scott, "Ron, do me a favor, help me out with this. Finish this song off with me. Just help me finish this part." And he did, and it was a part that was important, and so I just thought it was a lovely song, but I thought, oh, nobody will be interested in this. And but we did a demo, and a Welsh group called the Bystanders recorded it, which was a beautiful version of it, but it didn't have that commercial appeal to the public. They didn't think so. And so right out of the blue, someone said, Jezamine's been re-recorded by a group called the Casuals. I said, oh, so, and they said, well, I said, so how's it doing record-wise? And my publisher said, well, it sold about 50 copies. So I said, well, that's nothing. He said, no. He said, the day before it sold 10. He said, and if it sells 50, tomorrow I guarantee you it'll sell 100. If it sells 100, it will sell 2. Do you understand what I'm saying, Marty? I said, well, I understand. I don't believe you, though. And sure enough, every day he'd say, it's 750 now. Oh, really? A day? Yep. And then the next day, I'd ring him up. He'd say 1,400 or 1,800. And then Then it started to go up into the thousands and thousands.
Yes.
And of course, it was a hit. But initially I thought it'll never be a hit, But I'm proud of the song.
And what about I'm a Tiger? Is that one of your favourites there? Because I'm sure Lulu loved singing that.
Well, it wasn't one of my favourite. Originally, I'd written it for children, the I'm a Tiger phrase. Again, I said to Ronnie, I've got this song. I said, I've got a song for children. And so I sang, I'm a tiger. And it sounded, I can just see children would love it. And he said, well, I think we can get more than children to love it. So when we did it, we thought of Nancy Sinatra.
Right.
But then we thought of Lulu. And Lulu was had a hit and was a fine singer. So off we went, and Lulu had the hit with it, which I'm happy about.
Yes, and she looked great when I've seen her on the some of the old playbacks there of her performing the song. She really gets into the I'm a Tiger. Absolutely excellent. Now, you mentioned your daughter Kim Wilde earlier there, and she followed in the footsteps of yourself, being a teen pinup from the 80s onwards after you penned the hit Kids in America for her. What is it like for you with your daughter having such global success? And did you give Kim any advice?
Yeah, I would always, I would give her advice, but she normally she didn't always agree with what I thought, so she would go her own way on some things, but she always listens, and yeah, but a lot of the advice, especially when she first went out on tour, I could tell her things, the kind of songs to begin with, and how to pace yourself during a show. So those kind of things I helped, but it was a great being a part of it because. To be one of the writers behind someone like that, you felt, I didn't have to go out. It was lovely for me because I could be at home and yet I was getting a real kick out of it, a real thrill to see it in the charts, her records in the charts. So it was a lovely time for me. It was.
And were you surprised that it did so well, Kids in America, and especially with Kim there, with all of our style and everything? Did you have anything to do with that styling?
No, that was basically her. No, funny enough, I never saw her. I mean, she was my daughter, I never saw her. Then one day, I remember I came into this very kitchen that I'm sitting in now.
Right.
And she was she was making a telephone call. And I remember looking at her and I thought, oh my God, you are a star. Because that's the first time I'd really looked at her as a star. And,
yes.
I only see her as a daughter, most of the time.
That's right.
But of course, she's a star. So that was the first time I realized very early on in her career. She looked great. And I thought, well, good luck to you, girl. Let's hope we can come up with some good songs, keep you in the charts. But it was a lovely time.
Excellent time as well. And we'll have to try and get Kim on the show, actually, because I haven't spoke to Kim before. So if you can put a little word
I will, yeah. I will.
in her ear, that'll be fantastic. And then we can find out the other side of the story. Excellent. Yeah. Now, let's get bang up to date. And it's exactly 65 years since you first topped the pop charts, as you are releasing new music for your 85th birthday alongside a 20-date Greatest Hits UK tour. Your new album, 2 Eye Streaming, is released 19th of April 2024 and is available for pre-order at all outlets. Please, can you tell us what we can expect from the album, and is there plenty of rock and roll?
No, there's not. Well, there's one rock and roll track. Well, I'll tell you. The first one is the 2 Eye Streaming, which is obviously the single. Yeah. Then in the two middle tracks, because there's 4 in all, the second track is Danny, which was a song that was written for Elvis in King Creole.
Wow.
And but he recorded it, but they never had it in the film. And to be honest, it didn't work with Elvis. The band weren't right. It wasn't that kind of record. He needed his group. It needs Scotty Moore and DJ DJ Fontana and Bill Black playing behind him. But maybe they did play, but it was more of a big band thing, and it didn't work. And so later on, I got the track and I recorded it, and I love the song. Danny was a great song, and it was the same team that wrote Jailhouse Rock and all those great songs.
Wow.
And Treat Me Nice and all that stuff. So yeah, and then the other track on my album is Running Together, which is a song I wrote about 4 years ago now for people that I love, and it's just about running together, really, like it's almost like working together, loving together and all that. And also the last track is just called Talking About Elvis, and it's my way of saying thank you to him for everything he gave to the world, and particularly to us rock and rollers, because I don't think people like myself and Cliff and Billy would have had such a good run as we did without the impetus of Elvis. Elvis opened the doors, showed us what jackets to wear, what a style of guitar to carry, what style of singing, what shoes to wear. He was a blueprint for success. And I loved his early work on those early Sun records. They were fantastic. They're still some of my all-time favorites. And so yeah, that's the EP. It's a tribute to Elvis. It's my way of saying thank you. Because he had such an incredible impact on the world.
Yes.
But in these days, things are very quickly forgotten, so he won't be forgotten, but things are quickly forgotten. And I want people in the future, and I want people now to remember him for what he was and the awesome talent that he had. As I say, I mean, some fans only caught up with him, of course, they were younger than me and only caught up with him much later in his career. So he had a whole set of different fans to what I was. I wasn't interested in his Las Vegas days so much. They were great days and all that, and I know that people loved him and his fans loved that. That wasn't my great time with him. Was those early records, the Sun records with Sam Phillips, which I think they're standout tracks, and they will always stand out. They were very special records. They really were, and I don't think Elvis obviously is typical. He didn't have a clue that how important what he was doing, but he was doing it because all the other rock and rollers, so many, and in America of course as well, followed him. He was the governor, and which he was,
And the rock and roll, you see, that when he went, like in the 70s and such, like, it was like a totally different Elvis, a totally different style, more on the gospel kind of thing, and less of the rock and roll,
Yeah, well, that's right. And then he got a different, and then he I suppose he swelled his fan base, but because different styles were coming in. But I liked, I still liked all those pre-army songs that he sung. Mind you saying that, he made a couple of great albums directly as he was coming out of the army, some standout albums. But that very first couple of albums, and all tracks like All Shook Up, That's All Right Mama.
Love that one.
Cool. They're classics. They're timeless for me.
Devil in Disguise and all the rest of it. Yeah, we love that one. Oh, lovely. Now, your new single, Two Eye Streaming, is a wonderful track, I must say, full of nostalgia. Is it a personal story, the inspiration for the song?
Yes, it's about my father during the war. Although he didn't have to go abroad, he had to travel around because he was a sergeant and he had to teach men. He trained men. So he was always being moved from one place to the other. And I never... we used to go, Mum and I would go and stay with him for quite long periods of time. Once when he was in Devon, we were there for about 6 months, and then there was a gap again, and because we couldn't go back to London where we lived because of the bombing. It was too intense. And so then, and I was a baby. I was still a baby. I was only about 5. And so then, or 4, I was even younger than that. I was about, I think I was born in 1939, just as Hitler was starting the war. So I was only really young, 2 or 3. And but then eventually we went to Capel Curig in North Wales near Mount Snowdon. And that was one of the loveliest times but even then I couldn't get to my father. So the song really is about, which many people will relate to, is when you can't get near to someone that you love. And the song really is, I put the song as though he's talking to me, saying, don't worry, I'll be back soon. I'll write you'll get my letters. Yes. And pray for me while I'm away, but I'll be home soon, and it'll be peace again. So really, it's from his point of view, but it really is to say how much I lost my father when he was very young, and I never had a chance to really catch up with him. And many people can relate to that, and I find you never quite get over that kind of a thing. As I was on tour when they told me he died, and I saw him on the day that he died. I sat on the edge of the bed talking with him, and he wasn't very well at all. But then I said, I've got to go to work, and I did. But then after the show, they called me to the hospital, and I never got over that shock. And so this little song is just a reminder of how much people that don't get to that association with their father, how much they're missing. We missed out on quite a bit.
Of course. I mean, as soon as I heard it, it had a little bit of association with me because my father, he was an electrician. He used to be working all over the country. So It was like when I was very, very young, it would be me and my sister and my mum in the house, and we would go and travel to go and see him. But it would be just like, you know, he would come home once a month maybe, or sometimes it would be, you know what I mean, for a weekend.
Yeah.
So it has an association with it, like it'll touch the heart of a lot of people, and of course, especially for yourself there, Marty. Absolutely beautiful song. Now, the vinyl revival is upon us, so I must ask you, what is your favorite vinyl record you have ever bought?
Probably, without a question, Elvis's album, the very first album, because that changed that was the blueprint for what I wanted to do exactly. Bill Haley didn't fit the bill, really, because Bill wasn't my kind of image. It wasn't.
No.
He wasn't that kind of singer anyway. I mean, a great band and everything, made great records, but that wasn't my style. But when Elvis came along, so that first album, I bought it for 17 and 6, and it sits in my office. It faces me almost every day. The cover's a bit torn now, but all those great tracks, That's All Right Mama, Trying to Get to You, and all those early songs were just stunning. And I'd never heard anyone sing like that. And I realized that's what I'd been trying to sing like that without even realizing. So when it was just like it was like someone playing a fruit machine and all the bars come down.
Yes. A great sound. What would be your favorite song off the album if you were to put the needle on the record now for me?
Trying to Get to You.
Trying to Get to You.
It's a most amazing vocal track. I mean, anyone who knows anything about vocalization, or anyone that knows about just generally about the feel of blues music, when you hear that, the way he sung that song, it's just staggering, because to get that feeling, and it was probably, you know, probably one of his throwaway things. You know, he probably didn't think a great thing about it, but he really gets into this song, and you would never hear anyone. I can't fault it. It's perfect every way. Yeah. And Scotty Moore, with the blues guitar riffs in the background, it's got something wonderful.
Excellent. I'll have to have a listen to that one. It sounds fabulous. Now, Marty, unfortunately, we've run out of time. So it just leaves me to say thank you so much for joining me on the show, and I'm looking forward to that EP coming out, and I'd like to say all the best for your greatest hits tour. I know it is going to be a great hit. And are you visiting anywhere in the North East?
I'm not, and that's a sad thing. One of the things that was a problem really as you get older is the traveling. You've got to be, you know, it's harder to travel. But I would love to do tours. I don't do so many dates in the north now, which is sad for me, because that's where I kicked off. That's where I started, in Sunderland. And and they're lovely. They were great to me. The Geordie people, they were wonderful to me. So, and I just say, anyone who's listening out there, thank you for those great days. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll have to check out your website as well. Is it martywilde.com?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And then we'll be able to find out where you are going to be going, because I'm sure that a lot of the fans will be coming to visit you wherever you are. There'll be somewhere that's probably quite local to us, really, even if it's just a short train ride away.
Yeah, all right. I hope so anyway. All right. Well, you take care, and give my love to the North East.
I will. Thank you very much. And finally, Marty, would it be possible for you to introduce your latest single, To I Streaming?
Okay. Hi, this is Marty Wilde. This is my latest record, and I hope you enjoy it. It's a track called To I Streaming.
Marty, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show, and all the best. And give my love to Kim as well, and we'd love to have her on the show.
All right, I'll mention that, and you, good luck in your career.
Thank you very much. Take care now. Thank you.
Have a great career. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.